and it's the most important bowl of the lot. It is hard to catch because it's so fast and difficult to see. It's Seeker's job to catch it. You got to wave in and out of the cheesers, beaters, bludgers, and quaffles to get it before the other team's seeker. Because whichever seeker catches the snitch wins his team an extra 150 points. So they nearly always wins. That's why seekers get fouled so much. A game of Quidditch only ends when the snitch is caught, so it can go on for ages. I think the record is 3 months. They had to keep bringing some substitutes so the players could get some sleep. Well, that's it. Any questions? Harry shook his head. He understood what he had to do all right. It was doing it that was going to be the problem. We won't practice this with the snitch yet, said Wood, carefully shutting it back into the crate. It's too dark. We might lose it. Let's try to out with a few of these. He pulled a bag of ordinary golf balls of his pockets, and a few minutes later, he and Harry were up in the air, Wood throwing the golf balls as hard as he could in every direction for Harry to catch. Harry didn't miss a single one, and Wood was delighted. After half an hour, night had all really fallen, and they couldn't carry on. The Quidditch Cup, it'll have your name on it this year, said Wood happily as they touched back on the castle. I wouldn't be surprised if you turned out better than Charlie Weasley, and he would have played for England if he hadn't gotten off chasing dragons. Perhaps it was because he was now so busy with Quidditch practice 3 evenings a week on the top of all his homework, but Harry could hardly believe it when he realized that he'd already been at Hogwarts 2 months. The castle felt more home-like Private Drive ever had. His lessons, too, were becoming more and more interesting now as they had mastered the basics. On Halloween morning, they walked to the delicious smell of baking pumpkins wafting through the corridors. Even better, Professor Flitwick announced in quick terms that he thought they were ready to start making objects fly, something they had all been dying to try since they'd seen him make Neville's toad zoom around the classroom. Professor Flitwick put the claws into pairs to practice. Harry's first winner was Seamus Finnegan, which was a relief because Neville had been trying to catch his eyes. Ron, however, was to be working with Hermione Granger. It was hard to tell whether Ron or Hermione was angrier about this. She hadn't spoken to either of them since the day Harry's broomstick had arrived. Now, don't forget the nice wrist movement we've been practicing, squeaked Professor Flitwick, perched on top of his pile of books as usual. Swish and flick, remember, swish and flick. And saying the magic words properly is very important too. Never forget Wizard Ruffles would say S instead of F and found himself on the floor with a buffalo on his chest. It was very difficult. Harry and Seamus swished and flicked, but the feather they were supposed to be sending skyward just lay on the desktop. Seamus got so impatient that he prodded with it with wand and set fire to it. Harry put it out with his hat. Ron, at the next table, wasn't having much more luck. "Wingardium Leviosa!" he shouted, waving his long arms like a windmill. "You're saying it wrong," Harry heard Hermione say. "It's Wingardium Leviosa. Make the guard nice and long. You do it then, if you're so clever." Ron snarled. Hermione rolled the sleeves of her gown, flicked her wand, and said, "Wingardium Leviosa!" The feather rose off the desk and hovered about 4 feet above their heads. "Oh, well done!" cried Professor Flitwick, clapping. "Everyone, see here, Miss Granger done it!" Ron was in a very bad mood by the end of the class. "It was no wonder no one can stand her," he said to Harry as they pushed their way into the crowded corridor. "She's a nightmare, honestly." Someone knocked into Harry, and they hurried past him. It was Hermione. Harry caught a glimpse of her face, and was startled to see that she was in tears. "I think she heard you, so," said Ron, but he looked a bit uncomfortable. "She must have noticed she's got no friends." Hermione didn't turn up for the next class and wasn't seen all afternoon. On their way down to the Great Hall for the Halloween feast, Harry and Ron overheard Verity Petal telling her friend Lavender that Hermione was crying in the girls' bathroom and wanted to be left alone. Ron looked still more awkward at this, but a moment later they had entered the Great Hall, where the Halloween decorations put Hermione out of their minds. 1,000 live bats fluttered from the walls and ceiling, while 1,000 more swooped over the table in low black clouds, making the candles in pumpkin slaughters. They feast appeared suddenly on the golden plates, as it had at the start of Turnbucket. Harry was just helping himself to a baked potato when Professor Quirrell came sprinting into the hall, his turban askew and terror on his face. Everyone stared as he reached Professor Dumbledore on his face. Professor Dumbledore's cheers thumped against the table and gasped, "Troll! In the dungeons! Though you ought to know." He then sank to the floor in a dead faint. There was an uproar. It looked several purple flitwicks exploding from the end of Professor Dumbledore's wand to bring silence. "Perfect," he rumbled. "Lead your house back to the dormitory in Matisham." Percy was in his element. "Follow me. Stick together, first years." "No need to fear the trolls if you'll follow my orders. Stay close behind me. Now, make way. First year's coming through. Excuse me, I'm a perfect." "How could the troll get in?" Harry asked as they climbed the stairs. "Don't ask me. That's supposed to be real stupid," said Ron. "Maybe Pip's ladder for a Halloween joke." They passed different groups of people hurrying in different directions. As they jostled their way through a crowd of confused hoofles, Harry suddenly grabbed Ron's arm. "We've just thought, Hermione, whatever her? She doesn't know about the troll." Ron bit his lip. "Oh, all right," he snapped. "But Percy better not see us." Ducking down, they joined the Hufflepuffs going the other way. slipped down a desert-side corridor and hurried off toward the girls' bathroom. Then just turned the corner when they heard quite quick footsteps behind them. "Percy!" hissed Ron, pulling Harry behind the large stone griffin. Peering around it, however, they saw not Percy but Snape. He crossed the corridor and disappeared from view. "What's he doing?" Harry whispered. "Why isn't he down in the dungeons with the rest of the teachers?" "Search me." Quietly as possible, they crept along the next corridor after Snape's fading footsteps. "He's hiding from the third floor," Harry said, but Ron held up his hand. "Can you smell something?" Harry sniffed the foul, stench reached his nostril, a mixture of old socks and a kind of public toilet no one seems to clean. And then they heard it, a low grunting and a shuffling, footfalls of gigantic feet. Ron pointed at the end of a package to the left. Something huge was moving toward them. They shrank in the shadows and watched as it emerged into a patch of moonlight. It was a horrible sight. 12 feet tall, its skin was a dull granite gray, its great lumpy foot like a boulder, with its small bald head perched on top like a coconut. It had short legs, thick as tree trunks with flat horny feet. A smell coming from it was incredible. It was holding a huge wooden club which dragged along the floor because its arm was so long. The troll stopped next to the doorway and peered inside. It waggled its long ears, making up its tiny mind, then slouched slowly into the room. "The key is in the lock," Harry muttered. "We could lock it in." "Good idea," said Ron nervously. They edged toward the open door, mouths dry, praying the troll wasn't about to come out from it. With one great leap, Harry managed to grab the key, slam the door, and lock it. "Yes!" flashed their victory. They started to run back up the passage, but as they reached the corner, they heard something that made their hearts stop. A high, frigid, and it was coming from the chamber they just chained in up. "Oh no," said Ron, pale as the bloody bad run. "Hermione, it's the girls' bathroom," Harry gasped. It was the last thing they wanted to do, but what choice did they have? Wheeling around, they sprinted back to the door and turned their keys. Fumbling in their panic, Harry pulled the door open and they ran inside. Hermione Granger was shrinking against the wall opposite, looking as if she was about to faint. The troll was advancing on her, knocking the sinks off the walls as it went. "Confuse it," Harry said desperately to Ron, and seizing a tap, he threw it as hard as he could against the wall. The troll stopped a few feet from Hermione. It lurched around, blinking stupidly to see what had made the noise. It meant Little Eyes saw Harry. It hesitated, then made for him instead, lifting its club as it went. "Oh, Peep Rain!" yelled Ron from the other side of the chamber, and he threw a metal pipe at it.